Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I want to share with you some of the shows that have shaped me both as a person and as an actor. I haven't included movie musicals in this video, maybe that will be a topic for another time, but I have included stage shows, both straight plays and musicals. The landscape thing keeps flashing, I think the light keeps changing, this camera doesn't like the fact that I'm outside. This video today is sponsored by gardens. We love gardens, it's summer! Everyone loves gardens in summer. The first show on this list is The Lion King, and I wanted to start with this one because it's the show that made me decide that I wanted to be an actor. I'd been in loads of shows before I saw The Lion King with my school and with my dance school when I was a kid, and I'd seen loads of shows with my secondary school and my dance school and with mum's work when they did random work trips. And I'd really enjoyed being in shows and seeing shows. But when I went to see The Lion King, the whole of the first number blew me away. The music, the spectacle of it, the theatricality. Before then, I don't think I'd ever seen a show that has such a distinct style like The Lion King has. If you've seen it, you'll know, or just in clips of it, you'll know what I mean by that. It left me awestruck in a way that I'd never felt before seeing a show, and by the end of that number I was sitting in my seat like 14-year-old me thinking that's how I want to make people feel when I perform. It kind of changed it from being like a fun hobby for me to being something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So yeah, that's why that's the first one on this list, because it kind of started the whole thing off. Number 2 on this list is Wicked. So I discovered Wicked at a pretty formative time in my development, kind of like mid-teens. And as a teenager, I never really felt like I fitted in anywhere. So there was just something kind of cathartic and validating about this story of this girl who also doesn't fit in, and her kind of standing up to the establishment as well. I don't know, just at the time, that show just was really important to me, and it still kind of is. I still have like a soft spot for Wicked. I think it's a great show. It's a really fun show. If you think about it, it has quite a good kind of a big message as well. It's all about kind of going with your truth, even if it's, you know, doesn't jive with what everyone else wants you to do, which I think is very empowering. And I think because it's been around so long now, that can sometimes get forgotten. But then it doesn't do it in a preachy way as well, so again, it's not like hitting you over the head with that. That's just something that I took from it, watching it, and yeah, it's great. It's got some good tunes. Everyone likes a good tune. The third show on this list, our first play, is Complicité's A Disappearing Number. I saw this show when I was in year 12 as part of my A-level course at the National Theatre, and it was the first play I'd ever seen that blew my mind. It's just stayed with me so long. I remember when I was in Southampton doing my degree, I was in a bookshop and I saw the play script. Bearing in mind, this was like 3-4 years after I'd seen the show, and I just happened to see the play script and I bought it on the spot. It was an amazing show. Before that, I'd never seen a play that had moved me as much as a musical. They just weren't as visceral for me as musicals are. I think because I've grown up with a very musical background, like I've always sung, and I've started dancing from when I was 6, so kind of music's always been part of performing for me, and therefore with musicals the music makes it a lot more visceral for me, whereas plays is kind of, you're sitting there watching a thing. Whereas A Disappearing Number was just, I have no words. A Disappearing Number was beautiful, it was moving, it was deep and thoughtful and provocative, some other amazing adjectives. It was also visually stunning. I think that was one of the things for me. I'd never seen a play that was so visually interesting, and it was also spectacular, but in a nuanced way. Musicals, you think of like musical spectacle and it's very like, everything's here, and it wasn't like that. It was way more subtle and nuanced, but it was still like, whoa. it still stays with me. I still read the script from time to time, and I don't think there has been a show that I've seen that has stayed with me like A Disappearing Number has. Yeah, it was incredible. it was so incredible. Number 4 on this list is Girlfriends by Howard Goodall. So this show's slightly different because it was a musical I was in rather than a musical that I'd seen. It's not a massively well-known show. It's basically about women in World War II and the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, which is kind of the female unit to the Air Force. There's a main kind of love triangle within it. There's 2 girlfriends who like the same guy, but on like the wider scale, it's also about the development of the WAFs, from just making the tea for the officers to, you know, making munitions and working in the factories, and their role kind of broadening. There's a bit about discussing pacifism and stuff as well during that time. It's a great show. Look it up. It's definitely worth it. When we were doing the run of the show, I felt quite isolated, not because of anything, just for some reason I was kind of, because we weren't in, when you're in rehearsals you're so busy you don't have time to kind of think about what's going on in your head, whereas when you're in a run it's like you're just doing the show. So I guess from that point of view it was the first show I'd been in where like the show felt bigger than anything social that was going on, which was just quite interesting for me looking back on that time now. And I still think about Girlfriends quite a lot. I don't think I think about the other shows that I did while I was at school quite as much as Girlfriends, just because I think it was a really interesting show, and it dealt with a subject matter I hadn't really thought about at that age. So, slight tangent. I worked for 4 weeks at the Harold Pinter Theatre as an usher when Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf was on, which is number 5 on this list, another play. And this one's on its list kind of differently because I was obviously ushering for basically a month and sitting in on at least half of the show. It was basically like an acting masterclass, just seeing that amazing cast perform, and also getting to know the show so well because I'd seen it so many times, watching them be able to recover when things went wrong, because obviously I knew the play so well that when there were slip-ups, I knew that there were slip-ups, but watching them recover and being like, if I hadn't seen this show like 30 times already, I would never have known. And only picking up that there had been a slight mistake like a few seconds after it happened, because I was like, wait, what? Rather than being like, oh, they've made a mistake. It was just amazing. It was flawless. The performances were so committed, emotionally committed, interesting and clear and funny. Like Imogen Poots' performance, she was brilliant, and so was everyone else, but I just remember her performance really stuck in my mind, just because I think her part would be such an easy part to not be as detailed as she was. There were a lot of moments where she was kind of sitting listening to Imelda and Conliffe like going at each other, and she was all just in the moment so well. It was beautiful. Tangent on Imogen Poots over. It was just an acting masterclass. So for me as an actor, that was an amazing show to usher on for that month whilst I was there. It was great. So number 6 is Sunday in the Park with George by Stephen Sondheim, because you gotta have a Sondheim, am I right? So I first saw this show again as part of a school trip, and I must admit when I first saw it, it didn't leave that much of an impression on me. I can't really remember any specifics about how I felt after seeing the show with school, but I feel like with most, if not all of Sondheim, it's kind of like a good wine. Like, you gotta leave it to age and mature a little bit. Looking back on it now, even though I haven't seen a full production since then, it says a lot about the artistic condition. Sondheim, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure Sondheim said that Sunday is like his most autobiographical work in terms of being an artist and not knowing how your work's going to be received, and the criticism, and also juggling the personal and the professional or the artistic. I mean, that's what the whole of Finishing the Hat's about, right? Is him being like, no one gets that you've got to finish the hat, and the people who will wait for you aren't the people you want to wait for you, and the people that you do want to wait for you because you love them just don't get it. I think it's a very beautiful, if flawed show. I think the show as a whole is flawed. Like Act 2 just feels like a completely different thing, but you know, no show's perfect. Discuss. The music is gorgeous. The story, as someone in the arts, in the performing arts, is very relatable. And also Sunday is just a gorgeous song. Like when I'm feeling down, I always like YouTube the BBC Proms performance of Sunday, and I'm just like, all the life. It's beautiful. So I definitely check out the cast recordings. Whichever, I don't have a suggestion on which one is the best cast recording. Just listen to them all and make up your own mind. But yeah, the music is beautiful in it. So that's number 6. Number 6. Number 7 on this. Oh, sorry, I can't get comfy, guys. I just can't. I don't know do I want my legs out? Do I want to cross them? I don't know. Oh, I've crossed them the wrong way. Oh, that's odd. Let's stay like this for a while. Number 7 on this list is a play called Half-Breed by Natasha Marshall. I saw this play at the Edinburgh Fringe last summer, so it's a very recent addition to this list. Half-Breed is about a mixed-race girl growing up in kind of a rural area and how she deals with the racism that comes with that. In a nutshell, I won't ruin it because I believe it's on tour at the moment, so Google it, check it out. It's an amazing show. For me personally, it's kind of the first time I realised that voices like mine kind of had a place in the, I don't know, theatrical discourse, I guess, or just discourse in general. It's one of those interesting things of being of mixed heritage or mixed race, is kind of, you don't always really know where you fit. I've always felt like there's not really space for us in the narrative because narratives tend to be very, pun not intended, black or white. It doesn't tend to be very nuanced, and I feel like mixed race people, by definition, there is so much nuance and complexity just in our existence at times. So going back to Half-Breed, it kind of made me realise that maybe there is room for our stories as well, which for me has been quite empowering. So thank you, Natasha Marshall, for writing that play. It was amazing. Check it out. Seriously, it's a blooming good play. Last, but by no means least, is the show Ragtime. This is my favourite show. For me, this show kind of epitomises everything that I love about theatre and musical theatre as well. It has a gorgeous sweeping score and a grandiose scale. Its themes are deep and relevant despite their historical setting, and it's set kind of at the turn of the century. It tackles a difficult subject matter, but then despite this, the characters are, for me, deeply compelling and moving and relatable. The show is deeply moving as well. At no point does it ever feel like it's an issues show. The themes never take over the characters and the story and the plot. It all feels very organic to me. Also, the musical styles in the show are very, very carefully thought out and nuanced. I've used nuance a lot in this video. It's one of the things that I like in my theatrical works, is nuance. But they are, is one of the reasons Irons and Flaherty are my favourite composers. Check out all of their shows. They're brilliant. But they've been very specific in what genres of music they choose for each of the characters and groups of characters. It's basically set in New York, but you have like the black people of Harlem, you have the WASPs, so like the white affluent Americans, and you have the Eastern European immigrants. One of the things that I noticed is that Mother, who is in the WASP faction, who doesn't have a name. Basically the black characters are the only characters that all the way through have names, like Sarah, Cole House Walker Jr. And yeah, I just find that interesting. But going back to my original point before I went on that tangent, Mother's songs are all waltzes. Goodbye My Love into Journey On. Journey On isn't a waltz, but her bit in Goodbye My Love is a waltz. Back to Before is a waltz. What Kind of Woman is a waltz. Like, her songs are all waltzes, which was a very like white European upper class genre, as in it was all waltzes, and then ragtime came along and everyone was like, what is this new music? I just find that really, really interesting. So yeah, that's the kind of nuance we're talking about, right? And that's something that I've only recently realized. When I was making this video and actually thinking about the nuance, I was like, oh my gosh, like that's a choice that they made. But watching the show, you don't think, oh yeah, they're using a waltz, that harks back to these musical trends from that era. And it's just so organic, and it's great. I could go on about ragtime all day, but I won't. Check it out. It's gorgeous and it's beautiful, and I love it. I love ragtime so much. So those are the 8 shows that have influenced me and shaped me as a person and as a performer. If you have your own shows that have influenced you that are not on this list, then please leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear what has influenced you guys, and also if there's any shows that I haven't heard much of, it'll be good to have a listen. It's always good to get suggestions, so please leave those in the comments. Also, if you have any topics that you'd like me to cover, please leave them in the comments below. I've had a couple of suggestions on previous videos for advice for the UK acting industry and advice for vocal production, so those videos will be coming. Keep your eyes peeled for those, and yeah, let me know what you want me to cover. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye!